Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. We have another cool pre-production prototype preview for you, this time from the brand Sólás Watches. Now, they were established just last year in 2019, and they are proudly designed in Ireland. They're a new upstart micro brand with four main brand pillars being design, innovation, overall feel and essence, and of course value for money. Now this type of watch, I consider it that everyday dress watch. Some key common characteristics and styling. If you're looking for a dress watch you can wear every day, of course you're going to want that clean, classic, and really sensibly sized aesthetic, which I think you get here. Although there's something really special about this dial, and my studio lights are just going absolutely insane with this particular one. So legibility, I promise you, is actually better than this right now. So some of you are probably having trouble just looking at the dial right now. Let me try to like move some things around. As you can see, the reflections on the indices definitely play a big part in what's actually going to render there. So if I play with some of the lighting and some of the reflection, you can get a little bit of a better idea of some of those details. Anyways, guys, this thing's pretty cool. This is the Soulless Starlight. So with all that said, let's actually zoom out the camera, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay, guys, so as you can see, when I bring it up here and then I'll actually kind of angle it there, you get a little bit of a better idea of how this thing's gonna look. Of course, every one of these Aventurine dials are gonna be different, so maybe this one is just like the most sparkle packed one in the bunch. This is a pre-production prototype, so it has done the rounds. So when you look at the case and everything, it is fully polished, but it's gonna have the occasional scuff and smudge just from being a review prototype loaner. But here's really the other. So this thing has like two main attractions. You got the front dial, which is nuts, right? It's crazy, and look at the just the universe that's being contained within the dial. And then on the back side, you get this really cool micro rotor movement where you get to see a lot of great finishing work there. Everything from Geneva stripes to perlage, and everything is nicely exposed because you have a micro rotor movement versus when you have a full-size rotor that's going to be covering up most of this really nice finishing work. Now the Soulless Starlight pretty much gets that name chosen to of course reflect the special dial material. This is something that has been a real labor of love for the brand founder. This is just this is a creation of his that's he's trying to bring to life, and there's been a lot of refinement and prototypes over the course of over a year, really, that kind of got them to this place where they are at now. So there's just been a lot of different aspects as far as finding the right factory, the right fit, the right finish, the right look, the right feel. There you go, with some reflection there to really get you something extremely special. And I'm looking at this through the little viewfinder on my camera, so it's not going to be quite what the experience you guys are going to get on your computer screen or mobile screen there. So hopefully you're able to kind of see and get some of those little details, which it's just, this thing has almost like a 3D feel to it. Just there's so much depth because of that material and the way that it's kind of impregnated with all of these reflective facets. Now, as far as pricing goes, these are going to be anywhere from €329 to €399 via Kickstarter, and then the direct retail price will eventually be €549. As far as what the conversion rate for that is, I'm sure Google will help us out. Now, the diameter is really nice at 38 millimeters. It's only 9.7 millimeters thick and only 44 millimeters lug to lug. So this is going to be a really well wearing watch. It is made out of 316L surgical grade stainless steel. We do have a flat sapphire crystal with inner AR coating. The bezel, of course, is high polished and fixed, and then we do have a non-screw down crown that is nicely signed As you can see, it's a little bit small, but you know what, for this type of watch, that's kind of I think fitting for the design, so I'm not too upset about that. Now, the movement is pretty interesting. It is the, let's see if I can pronounce this correctly, the Hangzhou 5000A micro rotor movement, which has 4 hertz, which is essentially that smooth 8 ticks a second sweep with a 42-hour power reserve, and it's non-hacking, which is a little unfortunate, but for a dressy watch, of course, when you're looking at this, having a hacking seconds isn't going to be too consequential, considering that really you're only getting you know, markers for every hour or 5 minutes, right? You're not getting individual 60-minute countering scale all the way around. And then of course the smaller dial, the sub dial there with the small seconds, it's not like that has a lot of points of reference either, down to the split second. So it's something that is quite easy to set. I pretty much just get it to where I pretty much took it to the 5-minute mark. I wait till that, and then once the second hand goes to the pretty much zeroes out, then I'll push in the crown and it's set. So it might not have a hacking feature, but it doesn't mean that you can't get, you know, nice timing out of it. And the nice thing is also, although you can't necessarily hack it, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because this thing isn't just a timekeeping tool. It's definitely a lot more, and has that connective tissue to really tell a story and you know, kind of explain your brand of value when you choose to wear something like this, which is, I think, really interesting. Now, the dial, as you take a closer look, of course, guys, you have that signature Aventurine material. It does have polished hands, which are great, and they do have those nice folds down the center there, so they're going to catch light differently. So it does aid in legibility. Again, guys, a little tough under the studio lights here, especially since I'm in a dark room, essentially, with just the lights. Typically, these are reflecting off of a dark ceiling, so you're not going to see a lot from that perspective. And then when I get them to reflect here, there's just a little bit of glare in the crystal. So let me just, there you go, so you can get an idea of those handsets, which are really nicely done. They have this kind of alpha hands or Dauphine, and I think they look really great. And then you can also see that cool applied logo, that really interesting font there, which is a lot of fun. Now, it does have a date at the 3 o'clock, which is nicely integrated, as you can see. I think it would have been a little odd if they had done some big frame on there, because obviously the dial is the main attraction, not necessarily the indices. And then let's see what else. Oh, okay, so the small seconds hand, I'm sorry, the small seconds register, yeah, it's in between that 7 and 8 o'clock position. This is water resistant to 5 atmospheres or 50 meters. So if you do get a splash on it, no big deal. If you sweat on it, you can also not worry. And then if you need to wipe it down with a little bit of water or whatnot, it's not going to hurt it. It does have 20mm lugs, which is great. And then it has this really beautiful US sourced Horween leather strap that's actually handcrafted in Ireland. So again, really tying into kind of the Irish micro brand theme. This is really beautifully supple leather. I'm not super crazy about the unfinished style on the sides, but it does aid in how comfortable this thing actually wears, so can't be too mad at that. It has this really nice deployment system here, very similar to what you might find on like an Omega, a modern Omega anyway, and I'm really digging it. I think it really helps tuck and tailor the tail here really nicely. So I want to say I'm about 4 holes in. There we go, and then I'll just get that worked in there. There you go. Very smooth and handsome from that aspect, guys, so you can't argue with that. Also, you can't argue with how comfortable this thing is. This is extremely soft and pliable, as you can see. This is not needing to be broken in whatsoever. You can pretty much put it on, and it's just absolutely probably one of the most comfortable leather straps you're ever going to wear. It does have a slight taper starting at 20 millimeters at the lug down to about 18 millimeters at the clasp, which is really nice. So let's actually get this piece on wrist and see how this thing wears. Okay guys, as you can see on my 7¼ wrist, even though it's only a 38, because of that expansive dial, it actually has a lot of nice visual weight and visual presence there on the wrist. Really nice. You can see that beautiful blue stitching there on that nice Horween strap. Nice tie-in there thematically with the color play. I'm really digging that. It's a nice bright blue, and it plays off of the tones of the really nice dark leather strap. You can see with those turn down lugs, it wraps really well. I gotta say, this thing is really cool, very different. You almost want to think of it as kind of a wild card watch, but it's not that extreme really. It's actually quite sedate and clean and classic in a lot of ways. It's just, man, that dial is just insane. Like if this was, you know, a typical, let's say, sun ray dial, this thing would be just like a really classic, you know, everyday dress watch. Like especially would, you know, you'd have all the excitement in that micro rotor movement to look at as well. So, and then you combine that with the really high quality and super comfortable strap and clasp setup. Really, really nice. It's just this dial is really a bit probably polarizing and maybe overpowering for some, but I think it is something that's really special and different at the same time. And again, every one of these dials are different. So some of the you know, the actual production ones might be, you know, less robust when it comes to just how much reflective material is contained, and you might get something that's going to be a little bit more subdued. This is probably, you know, dialed all the way up to an 11. In terms of, wow, like look at that. And I'm sure that's one of the reasons why this was chosen from a you know, review perspective for one of the ones to send out, just because it does capture pretty much the maximum essence of that dial and that depth, and really just, wow, it's a real light show going on your wrist, which is really cool and different. You know, it definitely has, if you have a fan in your life of astrology and the stars, this is definitely something I think they could take Soulless with. See what I did there? Anyways, guys, this thing on the wrist is really cool. And it obviously wears really well. I mean, from the perspective of the case, the strap, the deployant, absolutely magnificent. I think really great proportions. Even up close, it doesn't really appear oversized. Even though there is some lens distortion, you get more arm in there and you get a better look. And you can see that it actually fits really quite well. And I think as the right balance when you think of an everyday dress watch. Now, this isn't a super dedicated dress watch. This isn't going to be your black tie dress watch, right? You're gonna get the tuxedo out and the penguin suit and throw this on. This is something that you can wear every day that's gonna be really versatile enough to wear with jeans or slacks, but also dressy enough to, you know, throw on a long sleeve button up. But it's also, I think, ready for some button down action as well. But with that said, let's actually get to some low light transition. There's no loom on this watch, but I'm sure we'll find that once the lights go out, this thing is going to have quite a spectacle of lights there. So looking forward to that. Let's go ahead and get that set up. Okay, we'll go ahead and hit the lights here. Let me get my low light ready there. All right, don't want to get too dark because there is no loom, but oh wow, check that out, guys. So with these loom shots, I do like to get some low light transition going, just so you guys can have an idea of how these dials, case finishing, the textures, all of that, how that's going to look in a less than ideal lighting situation, which of course, when you're out in the middle of a field in direct sunlight, that's a really nice lighting situation, which is kind of what my studio lights are going to be able to render and replicate. But what I like to do here is give you an idea. Wow, look at the light play that's going on with this piece. That is absolutely just really breathtaking, guys. Look at that. I mean, yeah, sure, legibility wise, I mean, at least on the through the camera screen right now, it's a little tough. But when I actually look down, you know, with my own eyes at the watch, I can actually make out the indices and whatnot pretty well. So that's something that, you know, hopefully will render a little bit with a little bit more clarity and more pixels when you're looking at it on your computer screen or your phone versus me looking at it through the little flip out screen here. But wow, this is absolutely nuts. Look at that dial. And you don't even have to get much movement on the light to get movement on the dial. That's the crazy thing. I mean, like when I'm doing these types of shots for something like a sunray dial, you know, I'm really moving the lighting around to kind of catch all those different hues. Here there's just so much going on that, you know, look at that. I really don't have to move the light very much at all, and it's just telling an entire story with the way that it's playing with that light, which is just really, really cool and very, very different. And I gotta give the owner props for doing something and bringing something to the market that is just so different. So guys, closing thoughts here to kind of wrap this up. On the wrist, of course, those vintage inspired good looks and modern build quality, you know, they pay off. It has really nice proportions with the 38 millimeter diameter and then the 12 millimeter lugs, which is wonderful. You do have the unique signature dial and micro rotor movement. You know, that definitely adds a ton of personality and visual interest to this, whether it's on your wrist or on your nightstand. It's going to be a really good time and a lot to look at and take in. So you are getting a bang per buck when it comes to just being in awe of this piece. As far as model variations go, I mean, this is pretty much it. The nice thing is that every dial, essentially, so every watch is going to be unique because of that. And then as far as comparable models go, it's tough, guys. There's very few, you know, Aventurine dial watches. I think more brands are starting to play with that, play with meteorite dials and you know, forged carbon fiber and all that, and there's a lot of different play with mother of pearl and whatnot. But I think the nice thing is here, it's not just a sports watch with a commemorative dial. This is a watch that was really built around this dial, and it just feels a little bit more cohesive than some of these, you know, at least from a micro brand perspective, some of the other models that are out there with these types of dials. So I really like that, guys. Bottom line, this is just an extremely impressive timepiece that just demands a closer look. Even if you're not looking for something like this, and me, you guys know my collection, you guys know what I review. I'm more of a sports watch kind of guy, but stuff like this, it just gives me pause, and I just, you know, it demands a closer look. And it's one of those things that I wasn't out there searching for by any means, but when it came across, you know, the desk, I was really happy to take a closer look, and just this overall aesthetic. Even if it's not your particular tastes, there's just still so much there that you can appreciate, which I find really interesting. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please do it like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.